everybody, and this is Chaos with Chaos Esports Productions, bringing you another viewer cast. Today we're going to be looking at a Polish Protoss player who just switched from Zerg, who goes by the name of Fllipz, and we're going to go ahead and get right into it. Now, he is in Gold League, so we are going to be taking a look a little bit more of the detailed stuff, getting him ready for Platinum. He reached out to me and wanted to get some feedback, and I always entertain helping out fellow Protoss players. So, we're going to go ahead and get right into things. So, obviously, the beginning of the game, everything's pretty standard. I didn't see anything wrong with the build, per se, except for there are a couple things that you scout that you don't necessarily react to. Now, I am going to pause really quickly here and take a look at your vision, because I do want to make one quick comment. When you went in with your scout, you scouted one of the gases and not the second gas. This is going to be a tell of whether or not he is going to go for an earlier 2 racks or a Reaper expand type build, things of that nature. So knowing whether or not he goes for that gas is definitely going to be one thing that you should be noting. If he does go for that gas, obviously that means he's got a pretty early viable Reaper expand or a very fast factory. I haven't really seen many Terran players go for really quick upgrades, but I'm sure that would be technically viable as well. But you're going to be placing a proxy pylon out here, and your opponent's actually going to be expanding. Now, one thing that I like to do is whenever I leave a probe kind of close to my opponent's base, I'll at least poke in just to get an idea of whether or not my opponent is expanding, because you know, 3 minutes in, he might have a single Marine, he might have 2 Marines at most, and this actually is optimal for you to get in and actually make the scout of whether or not he expands, because if he does expand, you know he's not doing anything one basey, and you know that just means you're going to be pretty safe to expand yourself. So, going to be getting up your second gas and throwing down your Twilight Council. Now, I do want to make note that you throw down the Twilight Council while he is in your base, which means the likelihood of him understanding that you're probably going for Dark Templars, you know, this basically gives him more confirmation of what you could potentially be doing. You know, he could say, he could be going for Blink play, or he could be going for Dark Templars. Very rarely do people go for a really fast Storm. I've not seen that played out. But those usually tend to be the choices that a Protoss tends to take. So by planning this down in front of him, he's going to have a pretty good idea of what he's up against. As a function of that, he goes ahead and throws down his bunker, and is starting to get up his production. Second rack's in the way, and he is mining on 2 gas, as he just puts in 3 in each. You send this probe out to lay down your Dark Shrine. All is good and well with the world. Now, a couple things that I do want to comment on that I noticed when I was watching the replay the first time. I noticed that you did start your warp gate research a little bit on the late side. You started it roughly around 2 or 3 probes worth of production, and you know that's just 30 extra seconds that could already be on this. So you actually could have a significantly faster, you know, warp gate. Maybe warp in a handful of units before your Dark Shrine finishes. So, just things to note. I'm going to be getting out a couple more gateways as things go along, because obviously you're kind of looking to do kind of like a 4-gate-ish DT rush. It's kind of what you're going for. But you've got a handful of forces out here just in case he does any rush type thing. Now, I am going to make a couple comments about things that you should be thinking about. Now, you really haven't gotten much intel as to what he's doing, and by going for Dark Shrine, you limit your visibility as far as detection goes. Now, you didn't scout his first gas, so you have no idea about gas timings, and with the buff that the Banshee's got with decreased cloak cost, that has become a lot more viable. Now, I don't want to say that it's the most effective thing in the world, but it's a lot more viable, and getting detection earlier on has become a little bit more important, because not only do you have that, but you also have Widow Mines to deal with. So, as we will see many of those later. So Dark Shrine finishes. You got this nice pylon here. And that is going to... Come on, where is it? I know you warped them in. DTs, maybe? Oh no, that finished. Now DTs. Okay, so you're going to actually, if we look at where they are currently move command, they're commanded to the mineral line of his natural, but we notice that they are already going off to the right. So with that said, we know that he does have a full wall off, and he is not going to be looking to let you in. Now, one thing I would recommend, you don't know whether or not he's got detection sitting here. So rather than sending your entire army, send a single DT to just check the top and get an idea of what he's doing. That minimizes the amount of damage he could possibly do by picking off these with the scan, which... now, he could have done a lot more damage, but he kind of auto-attacked his own bunker, so a little bit of bummer on his case. But you're going to be dropping down your expansion, which is a little on the late side. Ideally, this would have gone down probably 2-3 minutes ago, roughly around the 6-minute mark, as opposed to the 9-minute mark. And these DTs are actually just going to chill out here. Now, I do like what you do with these DTs. You do end up sitting them kind of right in this area, which I think is brilliant. But one thing I would recommend is splitting them up. Put one DT here and then one DT at his third. That way you know when he's taking a third and you have a better idea of what that timing is. Otherwise, you're just going to be sitting back, do a huge probe transfer down to your natural, and you're going to continue on getting your probes. Now, we can see by the units tab that you are 50% less workers than your opponent, and this is mainly a function of you not keeping up with your probe production. You focused heavily on army units, and I don't really quite understand why, because you really didn't scout a whole lot of units when your DTs went up, and you know, pretty much just saw the bunker and a handful of, I think it was like 2 Marauders and a couple Marines. So investing in all this army is kind of useless because nothing's really happening. So you actually do come up here, scout with your observer, and say, hey, I can walk in. Another thing you want to do is, rather than send both DTs into the main, send one into the main and one into the natural. Yes, I know it takes him less time to travel to his natural to deal with the DT in his natural, but he's going to be more worried about one thing at a time as opposed to multitasking. You're in Gold League, you're not expected to be able to multitask seriously. But, and that's why going one in each is just going to be a lot more effective. You know, he's probably going to pull these SCVs, he's probably going to pull these SCVs, and then you've effectively killed all of his mining as opposed to just half. So you're going to send them in, they're going to do a fair amount of damage. He's going to scan, take care of that, and then now he's like, well, got to start building missile turrets. Meanwhile, you're back getting your gas up. Now, at this point, you start getting cannons, and I'm not really sure why. You didn't... I mean, you scouted the starport, so yeah, drops are viable, but at this point, you really don't know what you're dealing with. And, you know, in Gold League, you might see drops, but the likelihood of you seeing lots of drops is probably small. Once you start getting into Platinum and facing Platinum players, drops become a heck of a lot more viable, and actually I'd say most Terrans tend to go with a heavier drop play anyways. So, you did go ahead and get your Storm up, which is wonderful. I need to slow this down a little bit and back up just a tad so we can see what happens here. Because this actually could have gone really, really well for you. Right now, you're super behind in your unit count. So you come in here, get a lot of really, really easy free shots. You have Storm. You have, what? Probably 5 Storms, if not 7 to 8, in my opinion. Now, that many Storms can just annihilate this army, as we will see here later. But instead, you just kind of walk out and let him pick off a couple High Templars for free, which isn't that great. And you know, when you're running away like that, don't feel bad to just throw out a storm, because that'll just get him to back off. You know, it forces him to either eat the damage or back off and potentially and not pick off any units. So it doesn't hurt to take the extra time to throw down those storms and go with it. So finally getting your third base up, you're still a little bit behind. I mean, look, units tab, you're still significantly behind in workers. And then at this point you've started getting your Colossus production up. Now you got Zealot charge, but you're not really warping in any Zealots. You've got these Zealots here, and honestly, Zealots versus this composition is a heck of a lot better than Stalkers in my opinion, because Marauders just eat through Stalkers, and the splash damage from the Widow Mines do just as much damage against Stalkers as they do Zealots. So it's a little bit kind of, you know, might as well just get the Zealot with the charge earlier on. Now he does some little dance thing, which is cool and whatnot. Now he gets into a really good position against you, because you have to choose between sticking here or putting your army kind of in this position, which gives him multiple avenues to attack down. But instead he's going to choose to move into your third base. You kind of come out here. I'm not quite sure why. And then this is your opportunity to shine. He only has one way to leave. He can only leave right here. You have 6 High Templar, one of which is probably going to die here shortly. But you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 storms at your disposal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 storms got off, and you just absolutely annihilated his army. Now, you're not in a bad position, but you're not in a good position. And the reason I say that is because you're behind in workers, you've more or less killed off the majority of his army, and the only thing that you can really do at this point is just go counterattack and hope that you win. That's really the only option you have. You pretty much have to pray that he hasn't been macroing, and because you're just so far behind from not keeping up with your probe production. Also, you're not spending your money, and I think the biggest thing is you're spending it all on Stalkers. So once you run out of gas, you don't feel like you can build units because you're building Stalkers. So that is kind of the biggest mistake that I see, is the reliance on Stalkers. Stalkers are good units, don't get me wrong, but against a heavy Marauder Widow Mine composition, I'm gonna say not the most ideal in your situation. So you're gonna be throwing down a whole bunch more gateways to alleviate some of this mineralage. Now, at this point, you're going double Colossus production, which is okay. I'm fine with that. But like I said, you're not continually producing units. You have a huge bank of minerals, but you just keep spending gas. You're not focusing on, you know, how can I get rid of this money? Because I think the worst feeling in the world is getting to the end of the game and realizing that you have so much money that you could have had like a full army worth of units as a function of that, but just because you didn't keep your production up means you don't get the opportunity to use that money. So he's going to be moving out here, and I think this is kind of where things just topple over and the game more or less ends. He just kind of positions himself, comes in here, takes out the third. You do get a I don't know what barcode wants. Okay. Talk to you later, y'all. Anyways, you get a good engagement and take out a lot of his units as a function of you know, a function of your storms, but what you fail to do is you fail to continue on getting up Zealots. Zealots are tanks. Use them as such. You build them so they can die. So basically, yeah, I think that's my biggest you know, I had this problem when I was in Silver and Gold League. Your unit composition is the key to understanding, you know, the mechanics of the game. When you play as Zerg, when you fight a bio ball, what do you tend to have this key composition that says I can kill a bio ball. As Protoss, it's a little bit different because there are only really two units that can deal with bio balls effectively, and that, you know, that's Templars and Colossus. So your unit composition has to be such that those units are absolutely protected as much as you possibly can. So by not building zealots, i.e. tanks, and also not having upgrades is definitely a an issue. I forgot I remembered seeing this. I saw level 1 armor upgrades at the 30-minute mark. You know, these are all small things that you're going to have to work on and make sure that you kind of hammer down. I don't know, one thing you can do is set up so you can click on your opponent's units and actually see their upgrades, so you know where you are in that aspect of the game, so you can continue on staying in with par to their units. But I think overall it was played out fairly well. It was just a few mechanical things as far as keeping your monies low and keeping up with your upgrades and your pro production. Those are the key components that I see as being, you know, missed here. You know, I understand that you're still learning the Protoss mechanics, which is fine, but those things are kind of even more basic than understanding the race itself. So once you get those things under control, I think this will be a lot easier, and I think things will get a lot better. As far as, you know, your understanding of the area effect damage, I think that, you know, pretty much is self-explanatory. You did a really good job at keeping your storms up, and actually you hit some pretty good storms, so can't complain too much. But I think that's all I have time for this this replay. So if you got any questions, feel free to leave comments down in the comment section below. If you are not the Fllipz, please feel free to check out some of my other content. I do Bronze Masters League series on Protoss. Looking to switch over to Zerg here shortly once I get up a second account. Also, feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed. Like, share with your friends, help them out, because learning Protoss is lots of fun. And I will see you guys in the next game.